Well, good evening there, traders and friends right around the world. It's your humble host, James, here with you on this Monday afternoon market recap. What I'd also like to do is walk through three particular stock setups and plays which we have referenced in that pro analysis class and are starting to work out very, very nicely for us. What I'll begin with this IBM short trade setup. We had an original entry here going back to Thursday last week at 168.22 to the downside. Today we have hit our target at 165.08. A very nice trade which has made about $3.12 of intrinsic value into those put option contracts. You can see the low of today's candle was 165.02. So we hit our target with about 6 cents to spare. A very nice type of trade setup, a very short-lived trade setup. The reason why it is so short-lived is because we are selling back off into this most recent bullish trend line. You can see we've touched it, I think, 4 times right now. We've got 1 touch, 2 touches, 3 touches, 4 touches, and this is now the 5th touch on this trend line. So if you are in put positions, you should be wanting to liquidate those positions as quickly as possible. If not today, at our target price of 165.08, I wouldn't be holding on to this IBM short any longer than you need to at this particular time. Outside of the IBM trade, what a great trade. I just wanted to say congratulations. It was the Tesla trade setup, which is also triggered to the upside above 254.34. Very close to our first target here at 259.38. I personally sat this trade out, but a very nice looking trade, some expanding volume. We came very close to our target. If you are in the trade, put your stop below Monday's candlestick and even look to exit this position as close as you can up to 259.38, a very strong resistance level on this particular stock. The third stock which I want to speak about is Apple. Apple is something we've been stalking for quite some time right now, and we had this bearish entry at 128.78. We started to see the breakdown of this trade during today's trading session. Some good volume coming into Apple as well. We closed today at 127.80, so we're very close to making that first dollar on the Apple trade. It hasn't run its course. We still have targets as low as 123.68, which I'm very optimistic of hitting over the coming week or so, or maybe 2 weeks, but a very good trade entry, and as such, we've got a really nice type of cycle taking place in the Apple trade, which looks as though it's going to resolve itself to the downside. Have a look at these oscillating indicators. You can see or have a look at the picture which I'm seeing right here. You've got the most recent sell signal correlating very, very nicely at the top of this sideways channel. Ticking all of the boxes. There's a lot of room for the Stokes to continue lower. There's a lot of room for the RSI to continue lower. And most recently, we've also got that MACD cross. And if we have a look also at the exponential moving averages, we are moving completely sideways, telling us that there is no trend on Apple at this particular moment in time. That is why we were so neutral, if not bearish on this stock, once we saw this particular candlestick right here. Since then, it's been a waiting game just for the stock to confirm. And as such, it's starting to break below our trigger. So I'm very excited about that Apple trade as well. And you're doing very well. It's only $1 at the moment, but there's a very good chance that we are going to continue back down to this level. If you are in the trade, you've got to make up your decision. Where do you place your stop? Right now, I'd be bringing it down. I'd be putting it below probably Thursday's candle right here. This high wave spinning top, allowing a little bit of room, but ultimately looking for that 123.68 final target on Apple. Outside of that, ladies and gentlemen, we are in Caterpillar as well. And you know my thoughts on Caterpillar. It didn't trigger, or it didn't re-trigger, so to speak. We're still stuck sideways in that little sort of stair-step pattern. So I've got my eye on Caterpillar. There was no real net movement in that particular stock. Interesting also, Baidu today, a very nice engulfing candlestick pattern. We were talking about this once again over the weekend. It is going to take some time to set up in this resistance box. Right now, my original entry stands. You know where that entry is. I'm not willing to bring it up, so to speak, just as yet, but it is looking awfully toppy right at this very critical area of resistance, which once acted as very strong support for a period of about 3 months. So you can see how once support, now acting as resistance in red over here. So I'm excited to see what Baidu does for us over the coming week or so. Outside of that, the markets today sold off. Dow Jones Industrial Average closed down 82 points. We are coming close, or somewhat close to this somewhat long-term macro support area. I'm keeping a very close eye on that. The S&P 500 down 13.5 points. A very nice Morobozu type candlestick to the downside. We have broken that bullish trend line, which we've referenced over the weekend as well. So there is some good downside potential on these markets. And the NASDAQ today, as I've said for a couple of weeks now, is looking top heavy. We're starting to see the reversal signals. And right now, I mean, we're pulling back down into the 50. It is somewhat technically moving sideways, but you can also make the argument that we are trying to struggle and bounce off the 50, but we really aren't getting any traction, any long-term traction or bounces to the upside. So I am quite bearish on the NASDAQ as well. I'm just paying attention to the macro support areas on the overall markets and how they align. What I did and what I'll do to finish off with on this Monday afternoon is that I referenced the Dow Jones Transportation Average. Now, what you can do, you can go back and watch my previous video on this particular market, and I made it very, very clear what to look out for and how often psychology and sentiment works out on these types of patterns. Generally, what happens is you get into these consolidational type of channels, what we've pretty much set up on the Dow Jones Transportation Average. We've made the break. And what generally happens is that we'll bounce back up, we'll retest that pivot point, and this is where you get the confirmation of the move lower. Now, I didn't know when it was going to happen. I drew this red box on my screen. I did this for you live. It was on I think a Friday or a Saturday. Right now, you can see the Dow Jones Transportation Average get a very clear rejection from this level. Today, we were down 175 points on the Dow Jones Transport. It's a very big move, a very ominous candlestick, and also expected given the type of sentiment and chart pattern setups which we've been following on the Dow Jones Transportation Average. We've been saying that this is a great forward-looking indicator at this current juncture, and it's really working out that way. Again, down 175 points. I do not have a position in the Dow Jones Transportation Average, but when we were summing up the market over the weekend and we were talking about how we're just simply in no man's land once again, but the benefit of the doubt based on our oscillating indicators and those types of indications at least were suggesting that we were going to make the downward move. We really placed a lot of emphasis in and of itself in the Dow Jones Transportation Average, and I think it's really starting to clarify the overall net movement on the other equity markets such as the industrials, the S&P 500, and also the NASDAQ forward looking. So please keep that on your radar as well. If you have any questions whatsoever, email me success@pivotpoint-trading.com. A lot of good trade setups. We've also got the Amazon trade setup, the Caterpillar continuation. We've got, let me just think, I'm walking through this, a very, very neutral trade on Netflix. Actually, let me just reference Netflix right now because I made this very clear for you as well. And I know it didn't sit well with a lot of people, but this is a really good learning opportunity as well. Going through the analysis as at the close on Friday, we were looking at a picture like this. This was the candlestick picture. We were up close to $8 on the daily on Friday. It was ticking all of the boxes, but I was saying to you very, very clearly, I'm not taking this trade because we are overextended and the market itself is very weak, i.e. the markets weren't breaking out and they certainly aren't trading to the upside or they aren't overly bullish at this particular moment in time. You can see right here how this works out. A lot of people today, unfortunately, would have got caught out on the Netflix trade. Not in our particular class, not our analysis class, but people out there who were looking at the same chart, wanting to jump into Netflix at this outrageous price or at the extremes, of this most recent bullish swing. You have to be realistic in your expectations trading the market. Sure, these things can work out, but you have to define your risk. And right now, the risk at this particular level wasn't justified in the actual trade setup itself. So a very good learning opportunity. Go back and listen to that speak or that talk which I gave over the weekend in Pro in regards to Netflix. You can scroll through, fast forward the video up until Netflix, and you can see how this is starting to work out. What I've also said, and I made this very clear as well, was that instead of placing the 634 long entry, I'd feel much more comfortable with a 607.50 short. Now, of course, we're not there yet. We do have some form of a bearish counterattack today, so to speak, in the actual candlestick itself, but I'm just waiting for more confirmation on Netflix. I can draw very similar parallels between this most recent swing right here and also the swing which took place earlier in 2015 right here. Can anyone see the parallels of this and this, or between the two, in the way of the market movement or the individual stock movement and its structure? Right now, let me just show you the two candlesticks which I'm referencing very, very closely. Most recently, today's two-day candlestick between Monday and Friday session looks awfully similar to the top which was put in at the end of this bullish swing. You can see what happened to price over the next month. It continued to tumble to the downside. So I'm not saying go out and place a bunch of put trades on Netflix or to get net short on the overall stock itself. I'm just saying it's not really the best time to be looking at this in a bullish type of outlook, given what it's already done. And we've had some great trades above 581.90, for instance, on the upside, which we've been able to capitalize on. Right now, it's just not the time to be jumping into overly bullish types of trade setups on Netflix. And this is really justified once again by today's type of candle. So I'll leave it at that on this Monday afternoon market recap. Again, email me all you like. success@pivotpoint-trading.com. I need to make a few calls right now to a few people around the world. I'm happy to do that. And if you'd like me to contact you personally, send me an email and we can talk. I'm always happy to meet new people and also interact on a consistent basis with a lot of people that I work with each and every week and who subscribe and listen to that pro analysis recording. So I like to leave it at that on the Monday afternoon market recap. Some great trade moves. We've been really patient. The bullish trade, which we spoke about in that one particular stock relating to oil, I'll just say it, CVX hasn't triggered yet, and it may not trigger, but at least we've got at least a good viable trade selection in the event that the market does continue, or at least bounce from the support level in the near future. So, pardon me, I'll leave it at that on this Monday afternoon market recap. Have a great evening, everybody around the world. I'll be back most likely on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, updating you with market advancements and our individual trade updates. All the best, friends. Goodbye.